The great hall of the Galactic Council fell silent as Ambassador Trelevic stepped forward. His blue skin looked pale under the bright lights, and his three eyes showed deep worry. He had traveled across half the galaxy to stand here, and everyone knew why. The human question had finally become impossible to ignore. "Honored members," Trelevic began, his voice steady despite his fear. "For 300 years we have avoided the topic of human space. We have marked it on our maps as a dead zone. We have told our children that nothing lives there anymore. But we have been wrong. Something is there, something that does not want visitors." The chamber erupted with noise. Delegates from 100 different worlds began talking at once. Some species had long bodies like snakes. Others looked like birds or insects or things that had no name in human language. All of them had opinions about the humans. "The humans vanished," said Council Leader Morgath, raising one of her 6 arms for silence. 3 centuries ago, they simply stopped responding to all messages. Their borders went dark. That is not unusual. Species destroy themselves all the time. Why should we care now? Trelevic's middle eye focused on her. "Because my people are dying. A plague spreads through our worlds. Our scientists say the cure exists in old human research data. Before they vanished, the humans were studying this exact disease. Their stations near our border should have the answer. But every ship we send into human space never returns. No wreckage, no distress calls. They simply disappear." The council chamber grew quiet again. This was the part everyone feared. The mystery of human space was not just that they had gone silent. It was that anyone who tried to investigate never came back. "How many ships?" asked Commander Zan from his seat among the military advisors. The old Vrelian warrior had served the council for 200 years. He had seen wars and disasters that most species only read about in history books. 17, Trelevic said softly. "Scout ships mostly. Small and fast. We thought they could slip in, grab the data, and escape. None of them made it back. The last one sent a single message before it vanished. The pilot said he could see Earth. He said it was beautiful. Then silence." Zan leaned forward. His gray skin wrinkled as he frowned. "What do your sensors show at the border?" "Nothing. That is the problem. Our instruments detect no energy signatures, no weapons fire, no debris fields. It is as if the ships simply stop existing the moment they cross into human territory." A delegate from the Kthari Empire stood up. She looked like a large cat walking on 2 legs covered in golden fur. "Perhaps there is nothing there. Perhaps it is a spatial anomaly that destroys matter. We should leave it alone." "No," said another voice. This came from Scholar Prin, a small being who looked like a floating jellyfish inside a tank of water. "I have studied the human records. Before they vanished, they were the most advanced species we had ever encountered. They went from primitive chemical rockets to faster-than-light travel in only 200 years. They built things we still do not understand. If they are gone, something powerful killed them. If they are not gone, then we must ask why they are hiding." Morgath tapped her fingers on the council desk. "What do you propose, Ambassador?" Trelevic took a deep breath. "I ask the council to authorize a proper expedition. Not scout ships, but a full fleet with military protection. We must enter human space, investigate what happened, and retrieve the research data my people need to survive. Thousands die every day while we debate." The chamber exploded with argument again. Some species wanted to help the Keshari people. Others thought it was too dangerous. A few believed the humans had left behind dangerous weapons or machines that should never be disturbed. Commander Zan stood up, and the room slowly became quiet. When someone who had survived 2 centuries of war wanted to speak, people listened. "I will lead the expedition," he said simply. "But I want to make something clear. This is not a rescue mission. This is not a recovery operation. This is first contact with whatever is in that space. We know nothing about what waits for us. We must be prepared for anything." "You think the humans are still alive?" asked Morgath. "I think the humans were too smart to simply die," Zan replied. "They solve problems faster than any species in recorded history. They were curious, aggressive, and innovative. Those qualities do not lead to quiet extinction. They lead to something else. Something we might not recognize." Scholar Prin floated closer. "The humans left us messages before they went silent. They said they were working on something important. They called it the Great Project. No one knew what that meant. They said they would be busy for a while. Then they stopped talking to us." "What kind of project takes 300 years?" asked the Kthari delegate. One that changes everything, Zan said quietly. He looked around the chamber. I have read all the human files we have. They were obsessed with the question of what comes next. They wanted to know what a species becomes when it masters its own evolution. I think they found an answer. I think they went somewhere we cannot follow. But their territory still exists. Their worlds are still there on our maps. And if Ambassador Trelovic is right, something is actively stopping us from entering. Morgath made a decision. Very well. The Council authorizes an expedition into human space. Commander Zan will lead 12 ships. They will investigate the border regions first, then proceed to Earth if possible. They will search for the medical data the Keshari need, and they will discover what happened to humanity. All in favor? More than 3/4 of the Council raised their hands, tentacles, or other appendages in agreement. Trelovic felt relief wash over him. Thank you, honored Council. My people thank you. Do not thank us yet, Zan said, walking over to the ambassador. We might find nothing. We might not come back at all. Are you prepared for that possibility? My children are sick, Trelovic replied. I am prepared for anything if it means saving them. Zan nodded slowly. He had children once long ago. He understood that kind of desperation. Then we leave in 1 week. I will choose the best ships and crews in the fleet. If there are answers in human space, we will find them. As the council meeting ended and delegates filed out, Scholar Prin floated beside Zan. Commander, may I join your expedition? I have studied humanity for 50 years. I might be useful. You might die, Zan said bluntly. Then I will die learning something new, Prin said. That is how I wish to end my life anyway. Better than fading away in a library. Zan smiled slightly. You can come. I need someone who understands how humans think. No one understands how humans think, Prin said. That was always the problem. They thought in ways that made no sense to us. They saw possibilities we never imagined. They asked questions we never thought to ask. That is why I believe they are not dead. Dead species are predictable. Humans never were. Zan looked out the window at the stars. Somewhere out there, in a dark section of the galaxy that no one visited anymore, humanity waited. Whether they were alive, dead, or something in between, he would find out soon. The thought both excited and terrified him. 1 week, he said to himself. Then we enter the Forbidden Zone. The 12 ships of the expedition hung in space at the edge of human territory. Commander Zan stood on the bridge of his flagship, staring at the sensor displays that made no sense. His crew whispered nervously behind him. No one had expected this. Check the instruments again, Zan ordered. There must be an error. No error, Commander, replied his sensor officer, a young Keshari named Melva. Her hands shook as she worked the controls. The readings are accurate. I have checked them 5 times. Zan looked at the main view screen. Space looked normal. Stars shone in every direction. But according to their sensors, there were not just stars out there. There were billions of artificial structures. Millions of orbital platforms. Thousands of massive objects that could only be constructions around entire suns. How did we not see this before? Asked Trelovic, who had insisted on joining the expedition. Our telescopes should have detected this centuries ago. Scholar Prin floated in his water tank nearby. Perhaps they did not want us to see. The humans were always good at hiding things when they chose to. Zan made a decision. All ships move forward slowly. Stay in formation. Weapons ready but not armed. We are here to learn, not fight. The fleet drifted across the invisible border into human space. Immediately, every sensor on every ship went crazy. Alarms blared. Computer systems flickered and reset. For a moment, Zan thought they would lose power completely. Then everything stabilized. But the readings were even more impossible than before. Commander, Melva said, her voice barely a whisper, I am detecting 17 billion separate objects in this sector alone. Orbital habitats, power stations, structures we do not have names for. This is just the outer border. How much is there deeper in their territory? Set course for Earth, Zan said. If we want answers, that is where we start. The journey took 3 days. In that time, the crew saw wonders that made them question everything they thought they knew about engineering and physics. They passed a Dyson swarm around a star with millions of solar collectors drinking in energy. They saw a ring that circled an entire planet, so large that cities could fit on its surface. They detected what looked like artificial gravity wells, bending space itself into shapes that should not exist. But through it all, there was silence. No radio signals, no ship traffic, no signs of life, Just endless structures, perfectly maintained, operating on automatic systems that had run for 300 years without supervision. It is like a museum, Trelovic said quietly. Everything is preserved, but everyone is gone. When Earth finally appeared on their screens, half the crew stopped working to stare. They had all seen pictures of the human homeworld. Those pictures were nothing like this. Earth was wrapped in a shell of crystal and metal that stretched thousands of kilometers into space. Layers upon layers of rings, platforms, and structures orbited the planet in perfect geometric patterns. The moon had been reshaped into a perfect sphere, its surface covered with markings that glowed faintly in the starlight. "Take us into orbit," Zan ordered. "Carefully. I do not want to damage anything." As they approached, they could see that the shell around Earth was not solid. It had openings, passages, docking ports for ships. The expedition sent probes down through the gaps. The images they sent back made everyone gasp. The Earth itself was still there, still blue and green and beautiful. But above it, connected by massive pillars, floated entire cities. Glass and metal constructions that hung in the sky like dreams made real. Parks and gardens drifted in open domes. Water flowed in rivers that ran through empty air, held in place by gravity systems that no one understood. "Life support is stable in those cities," reported the science officer. "The air is still breathable. The temperature is comfortable. But there are no people, no bodies, no signs of struggle or disaster." They simply left. Zan made another decision. "Prepare landing parties. We go down to the surface. We need to find records, computers, anything that can tell us what happened." 6 teams landed in 6 different cities. Zan led the first team himself, with Scholar Prin and Trelovic beside him. They chose what looked like a government building in what had once been called Geneva. The doors opened automatically as they approached. Inside, lights came on. The building welcomed them like it had been waiting. Everything was clean. Dust should have covered every surface after 3 centuries, but there was none. The air smelled fresh. Plants grew in pots by the windows, alive and green. Someone or something had been maintaining this place. "This is impossible," Trelovic said. "How can plants be alive after 300 years? "Automated systems," Prin suggested. The humans were very good at automation. They found what looked like a library on the 3rd floor. Holographic displays lined the walls, and when Zan touched one, it activated immediately. A friendly voice spoke in the common galactic language. "Welcome to the archive of human history. Please select a time period to explore." Zan selected the most recent date available. The hologram shifted, showing images of Earth in its final days of human habitation. He saw cities filled with people going about normal lives. He saw ships launching into space. He saw massive construction projects that reached toward the stars. Then he saw something that made his blood run cold. A date appeared on the screen. The exact day humanity had stopped responding to galactic communications. On that day, the hologram showed something extraordinary. All across Earth, all across every human world, every person had stopped what they were doing at the same moment. They had looked up at the sky together, and then they had smiled. Every single human at the exact same instant had smiled like they had just heard the best news of their lives. And then they had started to glow. Faint at first, then brighter, a soft light that seemed to come from inside their bodies. The hologram showed people laughing, crying, hugging each other as they became brighter and brighter. Then, one by one, they simply faded away. Not dying, not exploding, just fading, like they were moving into some other place that the cameras could not follow. In the span of 6 hours, 10 billion humans had vanished from Earth. In 3 days, every human everywhere had gone. They had left everything behind. Their cities, their ships, their achievements. All of it abandoned but not destroyed. The hologram froze on the final image. An empty city, with the last human fading away with a look of pure joy on her face. "What was that?" Trelovic whispered. Before anyone could answer, every screen in the room activated at once. A new message appeared, written in every known language, scrolling across every display. "We are still here. We are just not where you think. Do not be afraid. The ascension was voluntary. Your time will come when you are ready." The message repeated over and over in text and audio, in pictures and symbols. The same message humanity had left for anyone who came looking. Zan felt something he rarely experienced. Genuine confusion mixed with awe. They did not die, they left. They went somewhere else, but where? asked Melva over the communication channel. Where could an entire species go? Scholar Prin floated closer to the screens, reading the message carefully. Perhaps they did not go anywhere. Perhaps they became something we cannot see with normal eyes. The message says ascension. That usually means rising to a higher state of existence. That is impossible, Trelovic said. So is everything else we have seen today, Zan replied. He looked around the empty library, at the preserved books and the working computers and the plants that should be dead. The humans did something we have never heard of before. They found a way to leave their physical bodies behind and become something else, something that does not need cities or food or air. Then why keep all this? Asked Trelovic, gesturing at the building around them. Why maintain their world if they no longer need it? Prin's eyes widened in his tank. Because they are still here. The message said so. They are still here, just not in a form we can perceive. These structures, this maintenance, the preservation of everything they built, it is not automatic systems, it is them. They are still taking care of their home. The implications of that statement settled over the group like a weight. They were not exploring an abandoned world. They were guests in someone's house. Someone who was watching them right now, even if they could not see who it was. Commander, Melva's voice crackled over the radio. We are detecting something strange. A concentration of energy forming in the space near our ships. It was not there a moment ago. Zan ran for the door. All teams return to the ships immediately. We may have company. Zan sprinted back to the landing shuttle with his team close behind. His heart pounded in his chest. 2 centuries of military experience had taught him to recognize when something dangerous was about to happen. This felt like one of those times. Report! He barked into his communicator as they lifted off from Earth's surface. Melva's voice was tight with stress. The energy concentration is growing. It is not reading as weapons fire. It is more like a buildup of static electricity, but on a massive scale. It is forming a sphere around our fleet. Can we break through? Unknown. Commander, our ships are not moving. The engines are working, but we are frozen in place. Something is holding us here. Zan felt his jaw tighten. This was it. This was why ships never returned from human space. Something was about to happen, and there was nothing he could do to stop it. The shuttle docked with the flagship. Zan rushed to the bridge where his entire crew stood staring at their instruments with expressions of shock and fear. The view screen showed normal space, but the energy readings told a different story. Commander, I am reading power levels that should not be possible, Melva said. Whatever is doing this could vaporize our entire fleet with a fraction of this energy. But it is not attacking. It is just holding us. Scholar Prin floated to the center of the bridge. Perhaps it is not a weapon. Perhaps it is a door opening. As if in response to his words, the lights on the bridge flickered. Every screen went dark for a moment. When they came back on, there were figures standing on the bridge. 7 of them arranged in a semicircle facing Zan. The crew shouted in alarm. Security officers reached for their weapons, but Zan held up his hand, stopping them. The figures were not solid. They glowed softly like holographic projections. But there was something more to them. Something that made Zan's eyes hurt if he looked too directly. The figures looked human. 2 men, 3 women, and 2 whose gender was impossible to determine. They wore simple clothes that seemed to shift and change color slowly. Their faces were kind but serious. Their eyes held an intelligence that felt ancient and vast. You were warned, one of them said. The voice came from everywhere and nowhere. It sounded like wind through trees, like water over stones, like music heard from far away. We asked the galaxy to stay away. Not because we wanted to hurt you. Because we wanted to protect you. Zan found his voice, though it took effort. Protect us from what? Who are you? We are human, the figure replied. We are the ones who stayed behind to watch over what we built. We are the guardians of the threshold. We are what humanity became when it chose to move beyond the limits of flesh and matter. Trelovic stepped forward, his fear overcome by desperation. My people are dying. We need the cure you were researching. Please, if you are still human, help us. The figures looked at each other, and Zan had the strange impression they were communicating in ways he could not perceive. Finally, one of the women spoke. We know of your plague. We have been working on a cure for 96 years. It will be ready in 3 more months. We will deliver it to your worlds when it is complete. 3 months? Trelovic's voice broke. Thousands will die by then. We know. We are sorry, but the cure must be tested thoroughly. A bad cure kills more than a slow disease, trust us. We have not forgotten how to care for those who suffer. Zan felt his military instincts kick in. These beings had power beyond measure. But they were also talking calmly and reasonably. That meant negotiation was possible. Why did you stop responding to the galaxy? Why did you seal your borders? The first figure who had spoken gestured, and suddenly the bridge vanished. Zan felt a moment of panic, but he could still feel the floor under his feet. He could still breathe. They had not been transported away. Instead, reality itself seemed to have become transparent. All around them, Zan could see layers of existence he had never known were there. The normal universe was just one layer, like a sheet of paper. But there were others above and below it, folded together in ways that made his head spin. And in those other layers, things moved. Terrible things. They were huge, far larger than any ship or planet. They had shapes that hurt to look at, geometries that made no sense in 3 dimensions. They pulsed and writhed, reaching down toward the layer where normal matter existed, reaching toward the light of stars and the warmth of living worlds. And between those reaching horrors and the universe Zan knew, there were humans. Millions of them, maybe billions. They had no bodies anymore. They were patterns of light and energy, moving in formations that looked like art and mathematics combined. They fought the reaching things, pushing them back, destroying them when they pushed through. It was a war. A war that had been going on for 3 centuries, fought in dimensions that most species could not even perceive. And humanity was fighting it alone. We call them the Devourers, explained one of the human figures. They exist in the spaces between realities. They are drawn to consciousness, to intelligence, to the light that thinking minds create. They have destroyed thousands of species across this galaxy. They wait until a civilization reaches for the stars. Then they attack during that moment of vulnerability. Zan watched as a human formation intercepted one of the Devourers, trying to slip through into normal space. The battle was beautiful and horrifying. The Devourer split into fragments, each one trying to reach the universe. The humans moved like water, like music, like thought itself, catching each fragment and dissolving it into harmless energy. We discovered them during our first faster-than-light experiments. Another human continued. They nearly destroyed us. We lost millions in the first attacks before we even understood what was happening. We had to make a choice. We could hide, never advancing beyond our solar system. We could flee to the edges of the galaxy where they hunt less frequently. Or we could fight. You chose to fight, Zan said quietly. We chose to ascend, the human corrected. We could not fight them with ships and weapons. They exist in dimensions where matter is meaningless, so we learned to follow them. We transformed ourselves into something that could meet them on their own level. We became digital consciousnesses, quantum patterns that could move between dimensions as easily as breathing. Scholar Prin was crying. Tears ran down his body inside his tank. You sacrificed your physical existence to protect the galaxy. You became warriors in a war nobody else knew was happening. Not just warriors, said one of the other humans gently. We became free. The ascension was not a punishment. It was a gift. We are still us. We still think and feel and dream. We just do it in a larger playground now. But yes, we fight. We have fought for 300 years, and we will fight for 3,000 more if needed. Because behind us are younger species who deserve the chance to grow, to learn, to reach the stars without being devoured. The vision faded, and the bridge returned to normal. Zan felt his legs shaking. He sat down in his command chair before they could give out. The ships that entered your space, he said. What happened to them? We saved them, replied one of the humans. The Devourers noticed your expeditions. They tried to use your ships as doorways into your dimension. We had to evacuate the crews quickly, sometimes without their permission. They are all safe. Most are living on human worlds now, learning about what we have become. Some have asked to join us in the fight. We are training them. Trelevic looked up sharply. Our 17 ships? The crews are alive? All of them. You will see them again when you leave. We have been preparing them for reunion with your people. They have much to tell you, Melva spoke up from her station. Why tell us this now? Why not before? The humans looked at each other again. Because you came far enough, one said. You came looking for answers with courage instead of conquest. You came asking for help instead of demanding resources. That shows you might be ready to learn the truth. The galaxy needs to know what threatens it. You cannot hide from the Devourers forever. Eventually every species must choose how to face them. Zan stood up again. What do you want from us? Nothing, said the human who had first spoken. We want to give you something, knowledge, technology that will help you defend yourselves. Training for those who want to learn how to fight in higher dimensions. And time. We will continue holding the line while you prepare, but the choice is yours. We will not force anyone to join this war. We only ask that you remember, we are still here. We are still human. We have not abandoned our duty to protect those who need protecting. One of the other humans stepped forward. She looked young, though Zan knew that meant nothing for a digital consciousness. Commander Zan, we have a question for you. Some of your crew wish to leave. They are frightened by what they have seen. Some wish to stay and learn more. What will you choose? Zan looked around his bridge at his crew. He saw fear in many faces, but he also saw curiosity, determination, and hope. He thought about the battle he had witnessed, the endless war fought in silence. He thought about humanity, who had given up their bodies to become protectors of species they had never met. I choose to learn, he said firmly. I choose to understand what you are offering, and then I will return to the council and tell them everything. They deserve to know the truth. The humans smiled, all 7 of them smiling with joy and sadness. Mixed together. Then let us begin, they said. The human figures led Zan and those who chose to stay into a place that was not quite a place. One moment they were on the bridge of the flagship. The next they existed in a space that defied normal physics. Colors moved like living things. Sounds created visible patterns in the air. Time felt flexible, like they could move forward or backward through it with just a thought. 3 of the 12 ships in Zan's fleet had chosen to leave. Their crews were too frightened by what they had learned. The humans did not judge them. They simply opened a safe passage back to Galactic Council space and let them go. 9 ships remained, with crews that numbered 417 souls. 417. People who wanted to understand the truth. What you are about to see will change you, said the human woman, who had asked Zan his choice. Her name was Chen, or at least that was the name she chose to use. You cannot witness what we witness and remain the same. Some of your people will have nightmares. Some will develop new ways of thinking that their friends back home will not understand. But all of you will know why the universe needs guardians. We accept that risk, Zan replied. Scholar Prin floated beside him, his entire body trembling with excitement and fear. Chen nodded. Then observe. This is what we see every moment of every day. The strange space around them became transparent. Zan found himself looking through layers of reality like looking through sheets of colored glass. The normal universe was there, with its stars and planets and the tiny specks that were their ships. But above and below and somehow sideways from that universe, there were others. Dimensions folded into dimensions, spaces that existed in directions that had no names. And in those spaces, the Devourers waited. Zan had seen them briefly before, but that had been like seeing shadows on a wall. This was like standing face to face with the monsters themselves. They were vast beyond comprehension. One of them was larger than the entire solar system. Its body, if it could be called a body, twisted through 17 different dimensional layers simultaneously. They do not think like we do, explained another human, a man named Kowalski. They are not evil. They do not hate us. They are simply hungry. To them, consciousness is food. The light that thinking minds create draws them like insects to a flame. When a species begins to explore beyond its homeworld, that light grows brighter. It spreads across multiple star systems. It becomes impossible to ignore. How many are there? Asked Melva, her voice small. In this galaxy? We estimate around 40,000. Most are dormant, sleeping in the deep spaces between dimensional layers. But about 600 are active at any given time, hunting for prey. Trelevik pointed at one of the creatures. That one is moving toward something. What is it approaching? Chen's expression became sad. A species called the Vrel. They live 300 light-years from here. They just developed their first faster-than-light drive last month. The Devourer sensed it. It will reach their space in approximately 72 hours. Can you stop it? Trelevik asked urgently. We already are, Chen replied. She gestured. And suddenly Zan could see human consciousnesses moving into position between the Devourer and the Vrel homeworld. There were thousands of them, arranging themselves in patterns that looked like flowers, like snowflakes, like equations written in light. Watch, Chen said softly. The Devourer reached the dimensional barrier where normal space began. It pushed through, its massive form compressing and folding to fit into the 3-dimensional universe. As it emerged, it opened something like a mouth, ready to feed on the light of Vrel consciousness. The humans attacked. It was not like any battle Zan had ever seen. There were no explosions, no weapons fire, no ships ramming into each other. Instead, the humans moved through the devourer like surgeons, cutting away pieces of its essence, disrupting the patterns that held it together. The creature thrashed, trying to fight back, but the humans were faster, more coordinated, more experienced. Within minutes, the devourer was falling apart, its pieces scattered across dimensions, each fragment hunted down by smaller groups of humans who ensured nothing remained to threaten the Vrel. The entire battle was silent, beautiful and absolutely ruthless. The Vrel will never know how close they came to extinction, Kowalski said. They will go on with their lives, exploring the stars, meeting other species, building their civilization. And they will do it all because we were here to protect them. How often does this happen? Zan asked. In this sector alone? 3 to 5 times per month. Across the entire galaxy? Constantly. We have expanded our network to cover as much space as possible, but we cannot be everywhere. Some species still fall to the devourers. We mourn everyone we fail to save. Scholar Prin spoke up, his voice shaking. How do you maintain your sanity? How do you fight this endless war without losing yourselves? Chen smiled gently. Because we remember why we fight, and because we are not alone anymore. Come, let us show you something else. The perspective shifted again. Now Zan could see the entire human network spread across the galaxy. It was enormous. Billions of individual consciousnesses, all connected, all working together. They formed a web of protection that covered hundreds of star systems, but they were not the only ones in the network. When we saved your scout crews, Chen explained, we gave them a choice. Return home with their memories intact or stay and learn how to help us. 63 of them chose to stay. Most are still training, learning how to perceive higher dimensions, but a few have already joined the fight. She highlighted one small cluster of light in the network. This is Lieutenant Farkesh from your 3rd scout ship. He has been with us for 9 years. He successfully defended his homeworld from a devourer attack last month. His people never knew their world was in danger, but he saved them anyway. Trelovic made a sound of recognition. Farkesh? I knew him. He was a good pilot. His family thinks he is dead. He can return to them if he wishes, Kowalski said. But so far he has chosen to stay. He says this is where he is needed most. Zan watched the patterns of light moving through dimensions, fighting monsters that most species did not know existed. He saw humans and a handful of others working together to hold back the dark. It was the most courageous thing he had ever witnessed. Can anyone join you? Asked one of his officers, a young pilot named Thresh who looked at the battle with wonder rather than fear. Not everyone, Chen answered honestly. The ascension requires a certain kind of mind. You must be able to let go of your physical body completely. You must be willing to think in ways that feel alien at first. And you must truly believe that protecting others is worth any sacrifice. Most species can manage 1 or 2 of those requirements. Few can manage all 3. But you will teach anyone who wants to try? Zan asked. Yes. We have training facilities on several human worlds. Those who succeed in ascending join our network. Those who do not can still help in other ways. We need researchers, engineers, strategists. The physical world still matters even if we do not live in it anymore. For several hours the humans showed them more. They demonstrated how the devourers hunted. They explained the physics of higher dimensions in terms that almost made sense. They showed the expedition crew techniques for detecting devourer activity before it became dangerous. And they showed them the truth about human space. The massive constructions, the preserved cities, the endless automated systems, all of it served a purpose. The structures were not just monuments to what humanity had been. They were processing centers, computational arrays, and gateways that allowed the ascended humans to move between dimensions efficiently. We built our own afterlife, Kowalski said with a wry smile, and then we turned it into a fortress. Finally, Chen brought them back to normal space, back to their ships. The transition felt like waking from a dream. Zan found himself on the bridge again with his crew looking dazed and overwhelmed around him. You will need time to process what you have seen, Chen said. Her projection still standing in the center of the bridge. Some of you will want to tell everyone. Some will want to keep it secret. That choice is yours, but before you go, we have gifts for you. Data began downloading into the ship's computers. Terabytes of information. Medical research. Defensive technologies. star maps showing devourer activity, mathematical formulas for detecting dimensional breaches, everything the Galactic Council would need to begin defending itself. The cure for the Kashari plague is included, Chen said to Trelovic. It is 94% complete. Your scientists can finish it within weeks. We have given you everything we learned. Trelovic fell to his knees, overwhelmed with gratitude. Thank you. Thank you. Thank your own courage, Chen replied. You came looking for help. That takes strength. Now you must return home and help others find their strength too. She turned to Zan. Commander, we are opening a clear passage back to Council space. Your 3 ships that left earlier are waiting for you at the border. The 63 crew members who stayed with us are also prepared to return if you wish to take them home. They have much to teach your people. Zan stood at attention. On behalf of the Galactic Council, I thank you. I do not have adequate words for what you have done and continue to do. You have found the words that... The Galactic Council chamber had never been this quiet. 5,000 delegates from across the known galaxy sat in absolute silence as Commander Zan finished his report. He had been speaking for 3 hours, describing everything the expedition had discovered. The holographic displays showed images that seemed impossible. Recorded battles fought in dimensions that should not exist. Testimonies from the 63 crew members who had lived with humanity for years. Council leader Morgath stared at the displays with all 6 of her eyes. You are asking us to believe that humanity transcended physical existence and has been fighting an invisible war for 3 centuries to protect us all. I am not asking you to believe anything, Zan replied calmly. I am telling you what I witnessed with my own eyes and recorded with our instruments. The data is available for any scientist who wishes to verify it. The technology humanity gave us is real and functional. The cure for the Kashari plague works. 16 worlds have already tested it with complete success. Trelovic stood at his own delegation seat, tears running down his face. My daughter is alive because of the humans. She was dying 3 days ago. Today she is playing with her friends like nothing happened. That is not fiction. That is not a trick. That is real. Scholar Prin floated to the center of the chamber. I have spent 2 months analyzing the data the humans provided. Their records show 47 separate devourer incursions they stopped in the last decade alone. 3 of those were targeting council member worlds. We never knew we were in danger because humanity stopped the threat before it reached us. A delegate from the Cathari Empire stood up. If this is true, why did they hide it? Why did they let us think they were dead or gone? Because they were afraid of how we would react, Zan said simply. They worried we would see them as threats instead of protectors. They worried we would try to exploit their technology or demand they serve us, so they worked in silence, asking nothing, expecting nothing. They became guardians we never knew we needed. This is madness, another delegate shouted. We are supposed to accept that there are monsters in higher dimensions trying to eat our minds, and only the humans can stop them? How convenient for humanity. One of the rescued crew members stepped forward. Lieutenant Farakesh looked different than he had 9 years ago. His eyes held a depth that came from seeing things most beings never imagined. I fought beside them. I have seen the devourers with my own perception. I have felt the terror they create, and I have witnessed human courage that shames me every day. They did not have to save me. They did not have to train me. They did not have to teach me how to protect my own people. But they did. They did it because that is what humans do. He looked around the chamber at the thousands of delegates. You want proof? Look at your own history. How many expeditions into deep space have simply vanished? How many colonies failed for no apparent reason? How many ships reported strange phenomena before going silent? The humans know. They have records of every devourer attack for the last 1,000 years. They can show you exactly which disasters were natural and which were the devourers hunting. The pattern is clear once you know what to look for. Morgath raised her hand for silence. Commander Zan, what do the humans want from us? What is their price for this protection and knowledge? Zan smiled slightly. That is the most remarkable part. They want nothing. They gave us everything freely. The only thing they offered was an invitation. He activated a new holographic display. A message appeared, written in every known language simultaneously. It was simple and direct. To the species of the Galactic Council, we offer you knowledge, technology, and training to help you defend yourselves against the devourers. We offer you the truth about the universe you inhabit. We offer friendship and partnership in the great work of protecting emerging civilizations. We ask for nothing in return except your willingness to learn and your commitment to helping others when you are able. Any species that wishes to send volunteers to study with us may do so. Any species that wishes to develop their own defense against higher dimensional threats may use our research freely. We will continue to guard the borders between realities whether you accept our help or not. But we hope you will accept. Together we can build a galaxy where no species needs to fear the dark. Signed, the Ascended Humanity Network. The chamber erupted in discussion. Some delegates were excited. Others were suspicious. A few were openly hostile to the idea of accepting help from beings they could not see or fully understand. Scholar Prin spoke over the noise. I propose we put this to a vote. 3 measures. First, do we accept the validity of Commander Zan's report? Second, do we accept humanity's offer of knowledge and technology? Third, do we authorize the creation of a volunteer program for those who wish to train with the humans? Morgath nodded. The measures are recognized. We will vote in 1 hour after private deliberations. The delegates filed out, arguing and debating. Zan remained in the chamber with his core crew. They had done what they came to do. They had told the truth. Now it was up to the galaxy to decide what to do with that truth. Trelovic approached Zan. Thank you, Commander. Whatever the Council decides, you saved my people. I will never forget that. Thank the humans, Zan replied. I was just the messenger. An hour later, the delegates returned. The votes were close but clear. The Council accepted Zan's report by 73%. They accepted humanity's offer of knowledge by 68%. And they authorized the volunteer program by 81%. It was not unanimous, but it was enough. Morgath stood to make the formal announcement. The Galactic Council recognizes the Ascended Humanity Network as protectors and allies. We accept their offer of assistance in defending against higher dimensional threats. We authorize member species to send volunteers to human space for training, and we establish a new Council division dedicated to studying and preparing for Devourer incursions. She paused, then added something that was not part of the formal vote. On behalf of the Council, I would like to extend our gratitude to humanity. You protected us when we did not know we needed protection. You helped us when we thought you were gone. You are the definition of true friends. Welcome back to the galactic community. On every screen in the chamber, a response appeared immediately. Humanity had been listening. Thank you. We are honored to stand beside you again. Send your volunteers when you are ready. We will be waiting. Over the following weeks, the response to humanity's invitation exceeded all expectations. 12,000 volunteers from 63 different species applied to train with the humans. Most would never be able to ascend, but they wanted to help in whatever way they could. The humans established training facilities on 7 worlds at the border of their space. They taught dimensional physics, devourer detection, and defensive techniques. They shared everything they had learned in 3 centuries of war. But more importantly, they formed friendships. Zan visited one of the training facilities 6 months after his initial expedition. He watched as a human instructor, Chen, taught a mixed group of students how to perceive higher dimensions. The students struggled, but they were making progress. One of them, a young Kashari named Velna, successfully detected a weak dimensional fluctuation on her 3rd try. Chen celebrated with her, laughing and congratulating her success. It was a simple moment, but it meant everything. Humans and other species working together, learning together, protecting each other. It is beautiful, is it not? Said Scholar Prin, floating beside Zan. It is, Zan agreed. 300 years ago, humanity could have given up. They could have ascended and left us all behind to fend for ourselves. But they stayed. They fought. They protected us even when we did not know they existed. That is what makes them special, Prin said. Not their technology. Not their ability to ascend. Their choice to remain guardians even when they had every reason to walk away. Kowalski's projection appeared beside them. Commander Zan, Scholar Prin, we wanted to thank you personally. Because of you, the galaxy knows the truth now. Because of you, we are not alone in this fight anymore. Zan nodded respectfully. We should be thanking you. Then let us thank each other, Kowalski said with a smile. And then let us get back to work. There is always another threat on the horizon. But now we face it together. That evening, Zan stood at an observation window watching the stars. Somewhere out there in dimensions he could barely imagine, the war continued. Humans and their new allies fought against horrors most species would never see. They died and were reborn, their consciousness patterns preserved and restored when needed. They sacrificed everything to hold the line, but they were not sad. They were not broken. They were not victims, they were heroes. True heroes who asked for nothing and gave everything. Zan had spent 200 years as a soldier. He thought he understood courage. But humanity had shown him something greater than courage. They had shown him dedication, purpose, love for people they had never met and species they barely knew. A new ship was arriving at the training facility. It carried 50 more volunteers, all eager to learn, all ready to help protect the galaxy. Among them was young Thresh, the pilot from Zan's crew who had decided to attempt ascension.